Concept plan and rezone, LeVar Christensen applicant, Pony Express and 800 West, ordinance 17-12.
All right, Mayor and Council, as mentioned, this is a public hearing for a rezone and general plan amendment. The Planning Commission held their public hearing last week on Thursday. The draft minutes from that meeting are obviously not available prior to this meeting, so a report of action from the meeting has been provided to you. In summation, however, there was quite a bit of public input, and the Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation for the rezones with the addition of quite a few conditions to address some of the concerns of the neighbors. So with that, the location, Pony Express Parkway and Foothill Boulevard. And some of the background here. As I explained during the Planning Commission meeting, this property was annexed into the city in 2009, and as part of that annexation was rezoned and also went through a purchase agreement for the acquisition of some property for Foothill Boulevard and the future Pony Express Parkway. As a part of that annexation and purchase agreement, the property was entitled to 252 apartments, as well as the equivalent of the R6 density on the remainder of the property. So that came to a total of 444 units. What we're talking about today, however, is regarding the zoning and also informal feedback on the concept plan. The zoning currently is multifamily 18, so MF18. That was called R18 at the time. And also R3-6, which is what was the former R6 zone, so 6 units per acre. That R3-6 means you can have up to a triplex, a 3-family home, or minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet. With that, the Planning Commission and City Council held work sessions when the applicant resubmitted an updated concept plan and zone amendment back in the fall of 2015. Since that time, the applicant has been working on reconfiguring the layout in response to Planning Commission, Council, and staff feedback on that concept plan. The request is regarding the reconfiguration of the MF18 to relocate the apartments and also to reconfigure the location of the R3-6 and then add multifamily 10, MF10. And I'll explain the reasons behind that here in just a moment. The application is also to add 1.1 acres of neighborhood commercial to the site. Now, to explain the rezone request, right now the multifamily 18 is located in a long, thin strip along Foothill Boulevard, while the proposal has the apartments being reconfigured. In order to allow this, the MF18 zone needs to be modified to match the updated layout for those apartments. The reason the applicants are requesting the MF10 zone is that the old R6 zone back in 2009 allowed multifamily homes, whereas the current version of the zone only allows up to 2-family and 3-family dwellings. And I have a comparison in the presentation and your packet as well. So this is the concept plan that got the conversation started back in 2015. As you can see, well, we'll just get to the current one while my mouse decides to work. Then the applicants worked on revisions, brought back a plan in January of 2017. The Planning Commission and City Council held work sessions on this plan. And the applicants received feedback such as updating open space percentages, correcting densities, changing the accesses, and getting information on the fact that accesses may become restricted on Pony and Foothill. Some other code requirements like block length and guest parking, connectivity, feathering of density. Many of the details will be addressed at the site plan and preliminary plat stage, however, in response to feedback that is given by the Council and the Planning Commission at this concept plan phase. So the rezone plan that was submitted, let me get to April 2017. This is the concept plan that was in your packet originally. Prior to the Planning Commission meeting last week, however, a revised plan was submitted, which was provided to you in the report of action as well. So this is the plan that the applicants would like to pursue currently. I have a comparison here shortly. Some key things to notice, however. If again, the long-range mouse is not very long-range. I may come over here. Hold on one second. Thanks. Okay, the battery may just be dying. Okay, so the multifamily 18 currently is located in this long area right along here, along Foothill Boulevard, and the remainder of the property is currently zoned R3-6. So the applicants are requesting a rezone and general plan amendment to modify this linear apartment area and make it into this clustered location, and then to allow these townhomes, rezone this portion of the property to MF10, and then the remainder of the property to R3-6 to allow 6,000 and 8,000 square foot lots. Now, to answer the question, these 4 yellow pads here, the Planning Commission asked what they were. Those are the 8,000 square foot lots. So to compare, overall, the plans are similar in terms of the numbers. You see an increase in the townhomes up to 106, and then the single-family homes to 82. However, the concept plan in your packet included 4,500 square foot lots, and those have been removed from the modified plan. Also, in response to the council's feedback that in order to allow commercial, the density would have to be reduced, the applicants have reduced the density to 440. There are still some changes that staff would recommend for the concept plan as they move through the process, but there will be further resubmittals and reviews with the planning, or with the preliminary plat and the site plans. This is a comparison of the two. We can look at these more closely if you need to, or if you would like, but you can see the 4,500 square foot single-family lots have been deleted, and the townhomes have been also modified in that number. Okay. This is just a zoomed-in version. One of the concerns the Planning Commission and Council had was on parking, and so they have provided a parking summary showing what stalls will be provided, and that they do plan to exceed that. Obviously, that will be verified at the time of site plan and preliminary plat. There's an open space plan showing consolidated open space here, and then entry parks. And then the updated rezoning exhibit, multifamily 18, MF10, and R3-6. Now, the applicants did send an updated plan this afternoon. The Planning Commission expressed concern over flexibility, that if this plan changes, that they are locked into these 3 zones. And so the applicants submitted a revision, which was to zone the, come on, mouse. Zone the remainder of the property MF10 instead of the R3-6. So that's something for the council to discuss. So with that, again, the density has been determined as part of the annexation and purchase agreement. And the council also had given some direction on wanting information on a comparison between the 2009 code and the current code. The density is the same. The lot size minimum has increased, which is why the applicants have removed the 4,500 square foot lots. Multifamily is not allowed, which is why they're asking for the MF10 zone. Open space has changed somewhat, where we require more amenities today. And then we have the same standards for block length, building height, required decrease in turf, and then increased dark sky requirements. So with that, you have obviously the options to approve the general plan amendment and rezone, and the findings and conditions are in your packet. Additionally, the bolded items have been changed, where the rezone will be, and the general plan, if you approve it, would be consistent with the updated exhibit in the presentation and in the report of action that was provided to you. And then these are the 4, condition 4 contains all of the conditions that were recommended by the Planning Commission. You also have the option to continue it to your next meeting or a later date with direction to the applicants and staff on changes that you'd like to see, and then also to deny it with findings, and there are some parameters provided in your packet. You also have the option, if you choose to approve it, to make it conditional upon a site plan as opposed to, and site plan and preliminary plat, which is what the Planning Commission recommended, as opposed to just making the zone official. Public input was received during the Planning Commission meeting. Emails have been forwarded to you, and turn it back over to the council.
Mayor, may I ask a question? Can I have Timber go back to that comparison, please, of the numbers of units between what we have in our packet and the newest submittal? thank you. If I could just look at that for a minute.
For the audience, so you're aware, we had Owen adjust the camera to that for this presentation.
So is that just a decrease of 4 units in total?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to see.
You're welcome.
Great. Paxton Guyman, legal counsel for the applicant. Mr. Christensen's not here tonight and has asked us to present on his behalf. I'm not going to recite any of the history of the project. You know it well. But I will just say we tried to take into account the feedback you provided at the last meeting, the work session. You'll see that we've connected to Fairfield. We've added a commercial component which seemed to be well received by the council. We've also reduced the overall density, and just as a reminder, under the 2009 agreement, there's a vested right to have 6 units per acre. We're now slightly below that with this new alignment. So we'd like to reserve comment based on what the public comments are, and then maybe address those at the end if that's okay with you. Thank you.
Okay, I will open up for public comment. Same as the public comment before, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please be respectful in your comments. Please avoid repetitive comments, and please state your name and address for the record. Is anybody here for public comment? Yes. Reporter can, because it's his turn.
My name is Aaron Evans. I live at 11898 West Lehigh Fairfield Road. I look at this situation and I ask myself several questions. Number one, when LeVar started this program and bought this ground, what's it been, 15 years? Somewhere in that neighborhood? Why didn't he develop then? I know he complained about the extension of 800 West and Pony Express. I get documentation tonight. The young man was only paid $141,570 an acre for that ground. A little over 11 acres. That's pretty good compensation, considering that we know, or I know, he didn't pay that kind of money for the ground. It wasn't worth that kind of money when he purchased it. In addition to the fact, I question the dark and light density of which the city council was put on. Bud, maybe you were on the council then, but I don't think anybody else was. No one was notified that there was going to be this kind of density. No one. I've talked with all the neighbors about it. Not a one of us are familiar with it, or was familiar with it. You're backing up against an agricultural area. And LeVar's comment to us when he purchased the ground was single-family homes around the outside, around the agricultural area, with a few apartments down on the southeast corner, along with a little bit of commercial. Not a problem. People didn't have a problem with that. But to go to 450, 444, whatever the number is, that's quite dense for 44 acres. Really dense. And they talked about trash of this around this gas station. Well, I'll tell you what, our fine neighbors, I do a little farming around here. You cannot believe the trash I get in my fields. Can you imagine the trash I'm going to have get in there? Around 440 units? I mean, livestock loves trash. They really do well on it, which is a crock of rot. I look at the fact that we've got schools. They're overcrowded now. They're going to put schools. You got to have quite a bit more ground than that to put schools on. We're overloaded. Our families are large here. I think that one other area, if I may, and I'm sorry going over, there reason the law is doing this at this date, in my mind, is the fact that he sits on the state legislature. And he's found out in recent time that Legacy Highway's coming down this way, or Legacy or Mountain View Corridor, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to go, high probability, it's going to go through his ground. Can you imagine what 400 or 500 feet the length of his ground is going to take out? He's going to get and wants more money. And to me, that's a conflict of interest to the state of Utah and us as taxpayers. I think it's atrocious, and I think it's wrong. And people like that need to be put in jail and stopped from this kind of situation. I'm sorry you guys were not involved in this. It goes back to, what was it, Mayor, come on.
Parker?
What? Parker. Let me tell you, I think this whole thing is done by the dead of night, not by the light of day. And I'm sick and tired of this kind of thing. We are agriculture. The whole area right there is an RA5 zone. It's a special zone for us. When you annex this in, we couldn't live with your zoning of agriculture. Consequently, you said, well, you're grandfathered in. When we was asked to put it in writing by the city, that it says, oh, we can't. Well, how can I be grandfathered into something that you can't back up? So we changed the zoning, and I appreciate that. But let me tell you, that zoning with this density does not work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Darrell Wendell, 11698 West Lehigh Fairfield Road, 50 feet adjacent to this property. As we met last Thursday, afterwards I talked to LeVar about this project. He could see that I was not happy at all. His conversation with me was that, you know, all this come about because the city ordered me to go in this direction, and I'm just following what the city mandated would happen on this ground. And I thought, oh, right, that doesn't happen. But that's what he told me. And, you know, I started pondering that a little bit afterwards, and then I remembered, well, me and Love, I think, was the mayor in 2008 when this final agreement was made 8 years ago. And I thought to myself, well, this makes sense. Me as the mayor, LeVar, and she was to run for Congress, which she's in now as a Republican. LeVar is the state senator for our state and the legislator, and yeah, he's a Republican also. And I thought, oh,
She wasn't mayor.
oh, she was not. Okay, well, good you cut that. That'll cut that short. Anyhow, going back to this notification, none of us were notified of what was going on with this ground. Now tonight, that's how it works. You get everybody involved that's adjacent or close to the property. They voice their opinion. You people make your decision and then go with what you feel is right, since you are powers to be, from their input. And I thought, wow, this is a great meeting. It works the way it works. But going back to this property originally, I had no idea of what went on. There was no notification to any of the neighbors. The Evans, the Holies, myself, were right there. We heard nothing about it until our last zoning meeting last week, which was approved by you. I understand that. And it was mentioned, it's a done deal, too bad. That's how it's going to be. Well, I certainly don't agree with it. Also, 8 years ago, you know, that's a long time. I've done developments myself, and to point one thing out, is I was responsible for notifying all the people around that had to be there. They approved the letter, made sure that it was mailed out to them, and those people were there to yay or nay. And that's how it works, and problems were resolved. That's how it works. Again, that did not happen on this project at all. Also, as we go down, let's see, I kind of lost my place here. But anyhow, I don't understand what, is it Kimber said about the purchase agreement, the density went along with the purchase agreement. That has nothing to do with the purchase agreement of the property. I don't know what, maybe I misunderstood that, but yeah, there was no purchase agreement for that property through the city. I mean, that was purchased from my neighbor. Anyway, yeah, I'm not very happy with this whole situation at all. And if I could have an input of, you know, let's stop everything and go back and rethink what we're going to do here and do it properly. And a couple, Bud mentioned that, yeah, we want the welfare of the people that reside here. We want those people to be happy and feel good about this city with the decisions that have been made. Both of you said that, Michael and Bud, and I thought, yeah, that's what needs to happen. Well, that didn't happen at all with this property. And closing on this, I think that if this goes through, that us as neighbors of this city are really strongly thinking to getting some legal help and see if we can't get this ironed out, because this deal should have never happened. And we're not happy about it at all. Most of the people in Saratoga Springs are not happy with this at all, especially the rental units and the density is, yeah, it was given to LeVar on a platter, a golden platter, this project, and I don't know why. And I surely had no input. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, as Weldon's keeping time, please try and keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Sarah Merrill, 247 North 1000 West, Saratoga Springs. I'm one of the fairly close to the property that is under question as well. A couple things that I have concern. First of all, there's a new concept plan that has been submitted as of this afternoon. Is this correct? That wants MF10 throughout the remaining property. Is that correct, Kimber? Yes, that they just asked for today. I see that this tends to be a pattern because on Thursday they submitted a concept plan at the last minute and the council members on the commission didn't have the updated information at that time either. It seems that they have a tendency to come in at the 11th hour and try to sneak things through because we don't have the time to research them and go over them. Also, that concerns me, MF10 throughout the remaining, I don't want the MF10 at all. And MF10 throughout the remaining property. He shows it as still having the 6,000 and 8,000 square foot lots, but if you give him MF10 throughout the remaining property, he can do whatever he wants within that zoning requirement, and he can put 10 units per acre, and you can't do anything about it, because he'll have those rights. If you give him that, and we've already witnessed that he goes back on his word. He, even just as early as Thursday night, I talked to them about making sure that there was a solid fence between the agriculture and the housing units, because I have seen and I have known of deaths of children as they play in those fields. They do not understand the dangers of the agricultural equipment. I've seen one death and one injury, and one death even is just too much. And because of that situation, the mother actually ended up committing suicide because it was such a tragic incident. And he mentioned that he's not a vinyl guy and he was going to do precast. As soon as the commission tried to nail that down into writing, he started backpedaling on his word. Oh, well, you know, I need to look at it and see. So we can already see that he tries to weasel out of what he promises. The promises that he made to the landowners verbally back in a few years ago, he's already backing out on. I find it rather ironic that he's trying to hold the city's feet to the fire when he himself will not honor his own word. I believe that he is posturing hearing that he is trying for higher density in order to have a better bargaining chip as soon as Mountain View Quarter comes through. The latest data shows that Mountain View Quarter is going right through this property, and I believe that he is looking for more money. I also know that he cries poverty all the time and then turns around in the next breath and says, well, if you farmers don't like it, then we'll just buy you out. Well, which is it? Are you struggling financially, or do you have enough money and enough funds, millions, to buy out all of the surrounding area at current market value? Also, it would be interesting to research the approval in the original meeting. It was either 2000 or 2008 or 2009, to see what the public comment was and what individuals were here, because as you very well know, that the surrounding neighbors are very active when they are notified. When they know there's a change in their area, they're here. I'm sure some of you roll your eyes when they do come, but they're here. Go back and see where's the burden of proof that they were actually notified that this change was going through originally. And it may take some time and a lawyer to research that, but where's the proof? They weren't here, they didn't know. Find the proof, because they would have been here, and you know they would have been here. Thank you.
William Holy, 11735 Fairfield Road. I am immediately north of the property. We've talked quite a bit about the lack of transparency. We've talked a lot about the changes to the project over the years. And I don't want to repeat that, because there've actually been some good comments going. I want to talk about traffic. In the interim, I know that UDOT is about to release a study what should or could happen to 800 West, and as it continues south. It would be interesting to see just how much of what UDOT is going to do is going to take his property, and whether or not the work there, the units that are on the east side of it will still be available. The one thing that I did do, and is I took a look at traffic flows coming out of that new subdivision with 440 units. Everybody is going to be going north. Everyone in the morning will be making a left turn out of that, out of the subdivision onto 800 West. They will go north to 400 North to get over to Pioneer Crossing, or they will go up all the way north to the extension of the Mountain View Corridor, which, as you know, the UDOT has funded and is scheduling for construction. That will happen. There's going to be a lot of traffic that will come down 800 West, Foothill Boulevard, I'm sorry. I used to know it as 116th, 116,000. There are going to be a lot of kids that are going to be crossing the road to all of the delightful, wonderful schools that are right across the street. I think that you need to look at traffic flows in the interim between now and the time that UDOT is actually putting the interchange there, because you know an interchange will go at Mountain View Corridor and Pony Express Parkway. There will be one there. There'll be one at 73, one there, and there'll be another one, a mile and a half, say 2 miles south. I will let this go. Again, I have a great concern with the amount of traffic that's going to be going through there, specifically now that Mount Saratoga is about to start using Lehigh Fairfield Road. They're putting in the sewer now. My guess is by the end of the year, we will have traffic from the first unit of Mount Saratoga coming down Fairfield Road. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, any more comments? With that, I'll close the public hearing. You requested a chance to comment again. If you guys want to actually have a seat, the council may have questions for you as we discuss.
I'll just make a couple of quick points. As you know, this is not your typical rezone application. Most rezone applications come before you when you don't already have an agreement that had been approved by a prior city council like we have here. So we have to weigh this application within the context of the 2009 agreement, which was already approved by the city council at that time, and which did provide assurances regarding density and rezoning. So as you consider this application, my candid opinion is that you have very little latitude to deny it. But I would ask you to seek counsel from your own city attorney to see if there's a valid basis for which this application could be denied in view of the fact that it meets the density requirements and complies with the 2009 agreement. It sounds like there's some questions by the public comments about what purchase agreement is being referred to. It's the 2009 purchase agreement with the city, under which there was a bargained exchange where a sale occurred to the city in exchange for assurances of what would be allowed with the rest of the property. The only other thing I would point out is that in this world of land use and planning and zoning, there is often talk about potential roadways that might be widened or built in the future, and it would not be appropriate to withhold an approval on the basis of a potential road widening that will occur at some point in the future at an unspecified date. The way UDOT deals with that, and I'm sure it's not news to you, is they say, if and when we build it, we will then deal with whatever property needs to be acquired at the time. But right now, there is no confirmation. There is no final approval to move forward with any expansion of this roadway by UDOT. So it would not be appropriate to delay or deny approval on that type of speculation. Is there anything you wanted to clarify, Steve?
Steve McCutcheon, I'm a land planner. I reside in Sandy, Utah. The only thing I wanted to add to was in regard to the comments made in the planning about the zoning. In the planning commission meeting, there was some concern about what I call the circuitous kind of pattern that the differences between the R36 and the MF10 need to take to kind of work their way through the single-family neighborhoods and the townhomes. We just thought that one way to address this would be to, zone the entire area outside of the apartments and the commercial to the MF10. And I think what needs to be added to that is that the development agreement will limit the number of units to the 440 we're talking about. They'll limit the number of single-family versus single-family detached versus single-family attached. This isn't, the rezoning of that isn't a blanket approval just to start all over again with MF10. The development agreement that's going to go along with this zone change would limit what could be built to pretty much what you see on the plan today. We just, I think, the plan has got to a point where drawing zoning lines down center lines of streets that may move in the future as we do the more hard engineering, there's a good chance we'll come back to you when we're doing the preliminary plat to move those lines again. So that was just a proposal just to see if we could do this once and then use the development agreement to limit what we could do in the future.
Does have anything else?
Only if you have questions, we're happy to answer them.
Okay. Councilman Podesta.
Well, I guess the first thing is surprised that the new plan with the R10, I actually hadn't heard of that until tonight. I had the MF 10 and the MF 3, or the R36 and the MF 18, but the MF 10, I may have missed it.
The applicants sent that to us this afternoon, and so I just, and I sent it to the conference room email, so you did not have it in your packet.
Okay.
It's brand new.
No. And so I'm not sure what the ramifications of that would be. I agree that there were negotiations some time ago that involved the R18 at that time, and that what we were looking at tonight was reconfiguration as much as a rezoning. But I wouldn't be against having more time to take a look at what we're dealing with now. This is new. And so that's about where I am now.
Could I address the councilman's comments? I think, the reason for the MF10 zone you're concerned about, the reason for that was there was discussion at the Planning Commission meeting. Kimber, could you put up the zoning map, the R36 and MF10 map? There's concern, as you see here, with how this isn't even the most recent one. Could you put up the most recent one? Okay. Well, the most recent one actually has a small island of R36 in the middle of the MF10 area, and so in just looking at it, we were looking at it going, if there's a way to simplify the zoning, and the city is secure in what we ultimately will be able to do, it's a way to simplify what the zoning will ultimately look like, and possibly avoid having to move lines in the future. If you're uncomfortable with doing that, we can do what we propose, and we'll probably be back when we're doing the preliminary plat to make some small adjustments in that line again.
And, if I can comment on that, I don't think that for me, I'd recommend the council not doing that. We sent out the public notices, the properties within 300 feet of this. They came to the meeting, some of them came to the meeting, some may not have come to the meeting because they were okay with R6 immediately adjacent, may not be okay with the other zoning. It would seem to make sense from the transparency standpoint, as well as to meet the notice requirements, that we would have to send it back for another notice, probably back to the Planning Commission for a recommendation, and then back to the council.
Well, do we have to deal with the afternoon modification, or?
No, I mean, the current application in front of you is for this proposal. If you want to, if they would like to withdraw that application or modify it.
It was just something we thought would simplify matters for both ourselves and the city. If you're not interested, then that's fine. Just consider the debt issue then.
Sorry, which one is a dead issue?
The MF10 across the property.
The today modification.
Yeah.
And, we haven't really talked too much about this, but there are some pending issues and disputes. Some of those are being resolved with the property rights ombudsman. We would want to wrap this all up in a development agreement that takes care of all these issues, as well as the disputed issues with the ombudsman's office. That would be my goal here, is if the council acts on this, that they would condition it on a development agreement and a settlement agreement being approved, as well as, of course, a final site plan.
A clarification for that, Kevin, if they were to approve it or deny it, you'd still want the development agreement, is that correct?
Not sure that it would be necessary. If it's denied, it would probably be moot. So, yeah, if it's approved, if the council approves the rezone, we would condition that on, of course, that settlement agreement and development agreement. And I do want to know, I don't know if this was brought out, it may have been, but
the number of units have gone from the 444 to the 440 with the addition of the neighborhood commercial property there, if the council wanted to discuss that as well. I know that was a concern, that the cap of 444 units, they have reduced that to 440.
I didn't have any real problems with the original packet and distribution of zones seemed to be relatively consistent. Just getting hit with a brand new design that wasn't sure what to do with that. Let's see what.
Kimber, what is the current zoning map that their vested right that they have? What does that look like?
I can pull it up here in just 1 second. Get
So,
open.
I mean, I think it was pointed out, I think multiple people mentioned it. I wasn't on the council, this was just before. I was in the audience at the time, because I was running for office, but I hadn't been elected. I had no decision power at the time. I think the only person on the council was Bud Pideska at the time. And Mayor Love, just to clarify, was a council member, Love. So I don't want to make it sound like she didn't hold office at the time. Just want to make sure that's clarified while she's looking that up. In terms of notifications, I would assume that we have record of that, I would imagine, but if we don't?
Yeah, we would have followed, so we did follow the regular zoning process, and the zoning map was changed. That is correct.
So we have record of that in our, that we can show?
I would imagine the city staff at the time, I wasn't part of city staff, but I would imagine they went through the regular rezoning process to take that from the, whatever it was, to the MF, I guess, there it is right there. So it's, and I'm looking at it myself, the brown is MF 18 and the kind of the salmon color is R6.
The R36, right, Kimber, correct?
Yeah, sorry, R36.
So for me personally, this was the rights that were given. This is what rights they have. This is, I mean, if we can validate, I want to listen to the people who came and spoke, the neighbors. They're saying that they didn't hear, and I would agree. I think the lady in the back, you said we would have heard from these people, and I tend to agree with you, because they definitely are local residents of the city. But at the same time, I would just like to verify that, if we could go back and double check if we have record of that, if we have from the minutes things that were said. I don't know if there's any way we can validate. I don't know. That for me, I mean, it's a hearsay, he said, she said. If we can't validate it, we can't validate it. But for me personally, that aside, so the legality of that, before I was on the council or anything, I mean, I'm not saying one way or another. I'm just saying, as of right now, this is the zoning, and I'm not willing to change the zone from this. And it doesn't do good to threaten. I know, I mean, it does not do well to threaten me. I'm not someone who takes threats very kindly, and I will push back. And then one thing I want to point out is you show me really any development that gets 6 units per acre when it's an R6. That doesn't happen. You have roads, you have open space, you have a whole bunch of things that go on in a development that limit the actual 6 units per acre. So you're really lucky if you get 4.5, sometimes 5, if you really just have the most perfectly laid out plot. You don't. You have like a trapezoid here. It's the worst layout for a good solid R6 getting 6 units per the acre. So you know what, you have those apartments there, R36 residential. I think that worst case for the residents surrounding, they would at least have smaller, not as many dense units abutting the other properties. And then absolutely, I think that we need to look at the ramifications of solid fencing between the development and agricultural. I think, again, I think I've made it clear tonight, safety is a very high concern for me. We want to make sure that this is safe, and I just get concerned because the agriculture, whenever these developments come into agriculture, we've had these conversations. We don't always agree, but we've had them. the rights to shoot on that property. All these different things that you have that right. I always get nervous when these developments come in, but that's what comes with growth, and we have to do them as responsibly as possible. So a good, solid fencing surrounding it, I would hope that we could do something along those lines. I don't know what kind of rights that we have as a council to enforce that, but for me personally, there will be no budging on what was vested, trying to get nice round circles so that you can have a whole bunch more high-density housing. You know, that should have been discussed in 2009 with my predecessors.
I echo a lot of those comments. You know, first of all, to touch upon the commercial, we said, hey, you know, if you reduce some density, we give you some commercial, and the expectation is that didn't come out of single-family homes. So to me, the townhomes went up, single-family homes went down, and we went down by 4 units. So I'm not okay with commercial. The R610, you have certain vested, or sorry, not R610, just the R6 that you originally had, you had certain vested rights under that, and I don't think we need to change to an MF10. If you do have those vested rights, we can still do it under old rules, and that's what I said last time, and that doesn't change your vested rights, but if, in my opinion, if we go to MF10, that gives you more than what you were guaranteed in your contract. There's less open space requirements, there's higher requirements there, etc. You know, and if I could go back in time, you know, it would be great, but I need to do a little research, and then also to see a huge amount of conditions from our staff and from our planning commission. Like, I just can't move forward with that number of conditions, because when I read it, there's that many conditions. Not ready, it's barely squeaking by, and there's a lot of discomfort. The staff won't say it, but there's a lot of discomfort from the staff, from the city planning commission, and all of those. So, I mean, I'll stand by it. I'm not in favor of this, and I will not give more rights than it's already invested.
Well, as far as this afternoon's proposal, that's a non-starter with me. So, yeah. As far as the one that was presented last Thursday, I'm perhaps a little bit more flexible than other council members. I'm willing to at least entertain the thought of looking at it if looking at it makes it better than what the current zoning is. Yeah.
I didn't say, like, the layout I'm totally opposed to. I'm opposed to changing the zone
Right.
and giving him more rights. So I've never said absolutely no to the design, but this is now the third time I'm saying no to the reason.
So I understand that.
Can I just make a brief comment on that? So, and that, it just goes in line with what you said, Councilmember Porter. So basically what we would do is, in a development agreement, we would cap them at 6 units per acre on the remainder of the property. No matter the zone, they wouldn't be given anything more. That's the bare minimum that's required in the purchase agreement. So that's what staff was thinking. They weren't thinking, let's, you know, upzone the property so they get more rights under that zone. Not at all. They're capped at the 6 units per acre on the remainder of property. And then one other thing too is this purchase agreement. I think we've all seen that there's some definite concerns and issues with a level of uncomfortableness with that. There are some provisions in there that talk about working with them as far as location of apartments and so forth in the different zones to make this work on this site. But that said, I'll be quiet.
All right, I'll continue where I was. I'm willing to entertain the rezone because I think there are some benefits in that the current zones are stricter in some ways than the previous zone. I like the idea of locking you into single-family homes on the exterior portion rather than perhaps getting townhomes over the entire property under the old zone. I'm not saying I'm in favor of the rezone, but I'm at least willing to look at it. However, the fact that it was brought last Thursday, in the same genre as Councilman Podesta, I live very close to this property. My neighborhood is extremely interested in what happens on this property. I'm hearing from my neighbors daily about this. They haven't had a chance to review your new plan. They haven't had a chance to weigh in on what this new idea would look like, and whether or not it's something they can stomach, or whether it's something that they think we should just stick with what we're stuck with already. So my personal feeling is I would like to see this continued, so that in the interest of transparency, the residents can have a chance to look at this plan, and if you could avoid submitting a new plan in the interim, that would be great. But looking at the Planning Commission's comments, one of the major things they brought up was the lack of time to review this updated plan. I don't think it's, as the residents tonight said, last time they felt like there was a lack of transparency, and I don't think we should go down the same pathway again. But that's my feelings. As far as, I'm not even going to weigh in on the concept plan, because I think that's premature.
Kevin, if it were to be continued, we've already closed the public input, right?
Sure, but you can always, in a public meeting, you can always open it up for public comment again. You're not required, but you could. You could continue the public hearing for another date. Okay, you could choose not to. It's up to you.
Mayor, could I respond to Councilman Porter's comment? Just briefly. In view of the concerns that have been raised, I think we'd support the idea of continuing this to a later date, so everybody can feel like they have time to review the plans and the concepts here. We don't see any harm in that. I think it'd be a good idea. I'd also just like to add, if we're going to continue it, I would respectfully request each member of the council to read the 2009 agreement if you haven't already. If you haven't, then please read that. The only reason I say that, I don't mean to spark anger here out of anybody, but the reason I say that is that I truly don't think you can meet the obligations, contractual obligations, without doing a rezone. The 2009 agreement has specific obligations in there. We're trying to find the best way so both parties can fulfill their obligations under that contract.
The issue that we had the ombudsman look at was related to the not less than 6 units per acre. They were interpreting that to mean that we had to work with them to give them more than 6 units per acre. We said by getting the bare minimum, we met the requirements of not less than 6 units per acre. And then the other issue we asked the ombudsman to weigh in on was the connection to Lehigh Fairfield Road, which we will resolve if, after the council makes a decision on this. That's to the satisfaction of them, of course. They're not going to sign a development and settlement agreement without this moving forward and there being an acceptable solution. We would definitely wrap that up. So those remaining issues would be wrapped up. Any remaining issues under this real estate purchase agreement, development agreement, we would resolve with this and make sure that each party releases all claims, and that we're able to move on and no longer have any disagreements about that original agreement. That would be my obligation, to make sure that we're not opening ourselves up to future lawsuits with the developer.
The 2009 agreement set a floor, a minimum density. And what was in dispute was whether anything above that would even be considered. So we're now actually coming in at that floor, slightly below, but essentially at the lowest density that was already guaranteed under the contract. So
we can agree to disagree on that point. I did want to weigh in on the commercial because I left out of my comments, I would agree with what Councilman Wilden said, that it needs to come out of either the apartments, which I know you guys have been absolutely unwilling to reduce at all, or out of the townhomes. Reducing it out of the single family is not what I think the council was suggesting last time when we were entertaining the idea.
Councilwoman Barch?
So I agree with a lot of what has been said about the zone change. I also, again, have said multiple times that I think that because you are grandfathered in with your annexation agreement, that we don't actually need to do this rezone. I realize that some of our staff members maybe disagree a little bit on that. Regardless, we know what you are actually entitled to through that annexation agreement. One of the things that absolutely I disagree with highly, you reduced it by 4 units, is what you said, and it's come, of course, out of the single family, which is not acceptable. But if you look at what your density is the equivalent of 6 units over the rest of the property. Well, 6 units over 1.34 acres would be 7 units. So at minimum, you should be decreasing by 7 units. Usually, commercial actually gives you higher ERUs and greater value for your land. So in reality, you're not getting less than your 440 units. You're actually getting more. I like the overall much better than the original 2015 concept. Said that before. There are some things that newer concept I'm going to call, because this one that you see now, 42717, it's actually one we've not seen before. It wasn't in our packet. So right away, I'm going to agree with Councilman Porter that this has to be continued. This is something that we need time to actually digest. I do like the northeastern cul-de-sac set up better than having those very strange flag lots. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Kimber. The middle section with the 8,000 square foot lots, that's fine if we want to do some larger lots, but having them sandwiched amongst all those townhomes is a horrible setup. So that needs to be rearranged. Some of the other things, the neighborhood commercial, the way it's set up now, I'm not actually sure it's going to work for a couple of reasons. You've got a huge long dead driveway there that would make it possible for somebody going in there to be able to turn around if there weren't an area to park. Eventually, perhaps it would tie into something to the west in the next property over, but for a long time that's not going to happen. When it was townhomes, it wasn't as big a deal because you're having much fewer number of cars come into that dead end area. Really, it's be just those who live in that particular area. So it's a commercial area, and you've got lots of people coming in and out. It's a really bad idea to have that long of a dead end. And I think that fire-wise, probably our trucks could park on that main road, walk in the main road, and take their hoses from that far, but it just doesn't seem like good planning to me. As far as some of the other parts of the concept, I have lots of questions about the open space. Really, truly trying to have your cake and eat it too. You're taking the density from your old code and you're going to take the open space and amenities from the new code. I'm not sure what you're actually showing in the amenities is even meeting our new code at that. Obviously, that would be something that would be figured out later. But really, if you look at the townhomes through what you're showing here is the you've got those boarded off like they're backyards, and if you've got them as backyards and a fenced off, they're not open space. So that would count against that open space. Things like that to kind of work through.
Shelly, just 1 second.
Yeah.
Can you turn off your video? It's your audio quality just got really bad. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay, I know.
Let's see if that's any better.
Yes, much, thank you.
Okay, no problem. So, did you hear the part I said about the backyards, the townhomes? Okay, so there are lots of questions about the open space. I'm not sure exactly how it's working, but it looks like you're showing all those townhomes as having actual backyards. If those areas are all fenced in, then obviously it wouldn't count as open space. A lot of that would be taken care of in the site plan area as we get into the actual site planning. The couple of things that are problematic, if you look at the southern entrance, the entrance into the apartments on 800 West, there's a half circle of parking at the clubhouse there. There would need to be some kind of a median in between that parking area and intersection so those people aren't backing into an intersection. That's incredibly dangerous. There are some other things like that. So you've got some good things in this concept, much better than the others, some bad things. And it's just something that we would need to work through. But again, I don't think the zoning would need to be changed. My personal opinion is it doesn't need to be changed. I can understand wanting to move the MF18 to this area. That being said, not only do I want to continue because we haven't had a chance to review this most current plan, but on top of that, we are very close to having the MAG plan for the Mountain View corridor. While the land itself wouldn't necessarily be set aside yet, we're at least going to have that set out so we know exactly where that's going to go, where we can start obtaining more right-of-way if we need to. So none of this should be moved around until we find that out, and that's only going to be a couple of more weeks here. I have to say I must agree with a couple of the residents that made some comments as to how this has gone down and some of the inappropriateness of the buying of land just before corridors go through and like things like that. So unfortunately, it happens quite often with our legislature, and I'll one of that. As far as anything else in this area, I had a couple of questions on the engineering conditions. Engineering condition H actually says to improve Pony Express, but there's no condition talking about improving 800 West and Foothill Boulevard. Is there a reason that one's included and not the other?
Well, the assumption was, I guess there is no good reason. The condition should be applied to 800 West as well.
Okay. Perfect. Along with that, then, again, we can't really approve this until we know what that alignment's going to be because we don't want to improve something and have to immediately rip it out, so that doesn't make any. Also, Gordon, on condition P, it shows an increase in a water line from a 12-inch to a 16-inch. Excuse me, I just coughed. Will there be some kind of a reimbursement agreement along with that, or is that what is actually required for this project?
Where was that water line?
It's condition P in your engineering report.
This project wouldn't require a water line of that size, so it would be that's a master plan water line we're speaking of.
So we also need some kind of a reimbursement agreement then?
Of some sort, yes.
Okay, excellent. Also, just a note as you're going through and working on if we do the neighborhood commercial. In general, on our plans, neighborhood commercial is shown as purple. This is most assuredly not anywhere close to large enough to be regional commercial, which would be normally shown as red on all of our plans. Just for ease and not to freak the neighbors out, it would be good to have that as purple and not red. There's no way we're ever going to have a gas station in this location. You just heard the conversation on our previous item about having gas stations so close to homes. And this is a much smaller lot, which with much worse access. So there's no way a regional commercial would work in this. So just make sure, if you wouldn't mind, just for clarity, make it purple if that's what you're going to do. So those are my main comments. Again, I still think if we're doing the neighborhood commercial, I appreciate the increased reserve single-family homes. I think that's a much better product. Buffets the agricultural area much better. That's it.
Okay. Sounds like we have a desire to table it. Do I have a motion?
I move that we continue the public hearing as well as the item number 3, Lexington Green Concept Plan and Rezone, LeVar Christensen applicant, Pony Express and 800 West, ordinance 17-12 dated today.
I have a first from Councilman Porter.
Second.
A second from Councilman Podeska. Any further discussion from the council?
Might I add that we table it until after we have the Mountain View corridor alignment from MAD?
So amended.
Okay, I have an amended first.
Second.
Amended second. Okay, roll call. Porter?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Barch?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Legacy Farms, Village Plan 1 through 3, plats E through F, 2C through E, 3B through E, Agricultural Protection Area, removal, D.R. Horton, Crisel's the applicant, 137 East Legacy Parkway. It's usually yours, Crisel, that are the long ones that go on and on.
I'm here to support Karen.
Just a note, I'm 4 hours short of going 24 hours straight.
Let's be quick. Mayor and Council, the proposal before you tonight is a request to remove approximately 58 acres from the agricultural protection area in the Legacy Farms development. There we go. All right. As you can see in the kind of orangish color towards the bottom, those areas have previously been removed from the agricultural protection area, and the areas in the yellow are the requested areas for removal this evening. Staff recommends the council review the proposal and vote to remove the approximately 58 acres from the agricultural protection area. The applicant is here if you have questions.
Crisel, do you want to add anything before discussion? Okay. And thank you, Chief, for putting the fire out. Okay, we'll start with Councilwoman Barch.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two quick questions. This is a kind of a no-brainer taken out of ag protection, but my two questions are, why haven't we done this already? Because if I'm not mistaken, there are already people living in this area. And secondly, why are we not taking out the rest of the area at the same time where they're already building homes and we already have a concept coming in for the senior housing as well?
Orient myself, sorry. There are only people living in Plat 2D, no, not 2D, 2C, which is along the central area, yeah, right there. There's only 4 buildings that are occupied, and we should have done it sooner. I apologize for that. But what is being requested tonight removes all of the current plats that have construction ongoing. There are no occupants other than in that 2C plat.
But what I see is the fact that we were late on getting this ag protection removed and they shouldn't actually have been given their C of Os because of that. I don't want to run into that again, so why aren't we removing the rest at the same time?
So what's not being removed is not currently under construction. There's no construction plans for the areas that are not being removed at this time. Leisure Villas is in the process of applying for plat approvals, and at the time that they do that, we'll bring forward a request to remove that ag protection zone for that area as well.
Kimber, if I'm not mistaken, though, we've already seen plans for BT1 and along that open space.
Yes, we have reviewed plans for those, but they are not in the recordation phase yet.
So do we not then make part of recordation the fact that they pull it out of ag protection?
Well, so the agriculture protection doesn't, from what I understand at least, doesn't prohibit development. It's meant to protect the agriculture that's occurring there previously. Once a property once they record a plat, it comes out of Greenbelt anyway, and it's just a cleaner process to make sure that we go through this. But we will make sure that it's a condition of approval for all future plats, yes.
That'd be great, thank you. That's it.
Okay, Councilman Podeska.
No questions.
Councilman McComber.
I had one question, now I'm trying to remember. My mind is so fried. Come back to me.
Councilman Wilden?
I got nothing.
Okay, anything new? Anything new?
I remember. Kimber, when they bring these, do they have to file another application or any kind of fee charged to them, or is it just more of our time every time they bring these?
I don't think there's a fee for this, actually.
There is a fee.
Oh, there is? Oh, good.
Okay, good.
I'm about,
There's
not
a
as
fee.
tired as you, but.
You can come back as many times as you want, just charge your
Great.
fees. Okay. Okay.
No questions.
Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Legacy Farm Village Plan 1 to 3 plats, 1E to F, 2C to E, 3B to E, agriculture protection area removal, D.R. Horton, applicant 137 East Legacy Parkway.
I have a first from Councilman Podeska.
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Porter. Any other discussion on the motion? Do a roll call. Councilman Podeska.
Aye.
Councilman McComber.
Aye.
Councilman Porter.
Aye.
Councilman Wilden.
Aye.
Councilwoman Barch.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Jess, since you're here, do you want to do the Mountain Land pre-disaster?
So real quick, Mayor and Council, it's just somewhat of a formality in that we are in the process of finalizing our own very specific to our community mitigation plan. However, since it has not currently been approved and adopted by the council, we currently are ineligible to apply for any kind of grant money at this time. However, by adopting the MAG plan, which is a higher elevation, a little bit more global plan, adoption of that while we are waiting for the finalization and adoption of our plan does make us able to apply for grant funding in this grant cycle.
Perfect. Any questions from the council? Okay.
Well, I would just like to thank Chief again for doing the city level one, because I think that's something that will help us going forward.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, one question, sorry.
It's a voice from above, yes.
We talked about this in our MAG exec meeting on Thursday night. And Chief, they mentioned the fact that if everybody in Utah County does not pass this resolution that we're passing tonight, that the whole plan doesn't work and that FEMA won't accept it. Do you have any inkling that any of them won't pass it?
I do not, but I cannot speak for it, but I have not been given any indication that any municipality adopted. Again, unless, well, even if they were creating something again, specific to the local municipality, adoption of it may enhances
Make it stronger.
the situation.
Okay. And how does that affect us then, since their plan is actually not correct as far as our wildland-urban interface? Do we have to wait then until our particular plan is passed to really have that kick in?
No, we are in fact in the process of amending MAG's plan addition.
Very good, thank you.
I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the no, that's the wrong item. The Mountain Land Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan, Resolution R-1748, the date today.
I'll second that.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden, a second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion? Roll call. Porter?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Podeska?
Aye.
Barch?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. There's been a request to table item 3, the interlocal agreement with Eagle Mountain City for the Pony Express widening resolution. Do I have a motion? What date are we tabling that to?
Just future council meetings.
Future council meeting. Do I have a motion?
So made.
I have a first from Councilman McComber.
So seconded.
I have a second from Councilman Podeska. We'll call Porter.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Podeska. Barch.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have an exciting one, the approval of the annexation of UDOT property per UCCA 10-2-418, City of Saratoga Springs applicant.
Mayor and Council, it's a parcel of ground that is just south of Pioneer Crossing. We would recommend the approval of this application.
So let's open it very quickly, 30 seconds. There's a plat map. And just so, well, understand that this is a different process. This is a city-initiated annexation. And that's kind of a streamlined process that we can follow. That's where we've provided one or more municipal services to the area within the last year. We've got police responses along Pioneer Crossing, as well as on 2300 West that are documented. And so that we're going to run this concurrently with the other annexations. If you look at that little notch right there, that's the Johansson parcel that is being processed as well. And if you notice that little strip of land, that it's not currently contiguous, so this one has to run concurrently with the Johansson one. So we've got this scheduled right now for final approval after all the notices have gone out for June 20th. And UDOT has indicated, the regional manager has indicated that UDOT supports this annexation.
Okay. Perfect. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the annexation of UDOT property per UCA 10-2-418, City of Saratoga Springs applicant, Resolution R17-50 dated today.
I have a first from Councilman Porter, second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion? Okay, Councilman Porter.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Podeska.
Aye.
Barch.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Engineering Professional Services Pre-Qualification List, Resolution R17-49.
Mayor and Council, last time we did a list like this was 2013, so we thought it was about time to redo it. A lot of personnel in the valley and different firms have moved around. So we went through a similar process and got qualifications, listed the 8 kind of criteria we used to evaluate it, and then there's a table there that lists the firms that we pre-qualified in the categories.
Perfect.
Any questions?
Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move that we approve the engineering professional service pre-qualification list, Resolution R1749 dated today.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden.
Second.
Second from Councilman Podeska. Any further discussion? Roll call, Councilwoman Barch.
Aye.
Podeska.
Aye.
Comber.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Okay, item 2, Infrastructure Development and Reimbursement Agreement with Suburban Land Reserve, SLR, for Secondary Water Resolution R17-46.
Mayor and Council, $6.7 million reimbursement agreement for building a secondary pond and water line north part of the city in Zone 1. And just so that your life can be a little easier, you can make a motion to approve business item number 2, and you can leave it at that.
Perfect. No, you cannot. Chief, can you remove him?
All they're asking for is
Perfect. We'll follow Mark's recommendation and entertain a motion.
I move that we approve business item 2 as listed on the agenda.
Perfect. I have a first from Councilman Porter.
I'll second it. I've seconded everything else tonight.
I have a second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Wilden.
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Podeska.
Aye.
Barch.
Aye.
Porter.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I move that we approve the minutes for April 18th, 2017 with all the submitted changes.
I move that I'll accept a motion.
Too slow.
I just want to see if Cindy got my couple of changes that I sent in.
Did you get Shelley's changes?
We got those this afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay. Then I have a first from Councilman Porter.
I'll second it.
Second from McKean, a second from Councilman McComber. Any further discussion? Councilwoman Barch?
Aye.
Tedesca?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Wilden?
Aye.
Porter?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mark had grave news during the other portion of the meeting. We have need for closed session tonight.
I'll move for the reasons listed on the agenda to go in closed session.
I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. All approved?
Kimber? Aye. Could you bring up the
Aye, if you can hear us.
map?
Fast.
Turn off zoning.
What, that I made fun of?
Does everyone know who needs to be here?
Entire city.
Jeremy, Gordon, you're good to go.
Fast.
Simultaneously, when you said something, I looked up, you had a grin on your face.
Nope, just go.
I wasn't meaning.
Already drunk 2 Cokes.
The timing, I thought, was.
I wasn't even
Kevin, I'm sorry for booing you. I was just making fun of the entire city.
Which I probably should call if you get a chance to talk.
I probably shouldn't have made fun of the entire city of Draper.
I feel like he's my, he feels a little bit like Vladimir Putin with restricting my comments.
At least he's not gonna throw you out the window. Right?
He's gonna take off his shirt and throw me out the window.
I gotta start booing.
I was going to shoot myself in the head with all those public comments. So repetitive. Was it 2 hours worth?
It was about an hour and 45.
It was an hour and 40 minutes.
It was worse for the planning commission, you guys, for both of them.
When does it even start?
May.
Still like, yeah, 20 something.
Shelley, are you still there?
When is it?
I am, yes.
Shelley, are you there?
Yes, but the
Okay,
microphone's
sorry, we
off.
got to turn the speaker back on. I wanted to make sure. Can you hear me now? Shelley, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Thanks.
Hey, Shelley, do you want to go to the Eagle Mountain Rodeo?
Do I want to go to Eagle Mountain Rodeo?
They're giving you 1 free ticket.
When is it?
It's Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend.
No, I won't be available.
Okay.
So if somebody else wants my ticket, go for it.
All right, then okay, thank you.
When is Memorial Day? May what?
28. I want to say. I'm not positive. Last year. My son did that. I don't know if it was long.
There.
Yeah, that's decided not to.
YouTube is still on. Would you flip the switch?
Sir Wilden,
Yes, you have to make.
His Excellency.
Lord McComber,
Hey, wait, Kimber.